Step into my gallery, friends, and get ready to get more cultured than a Greek yogurt. Today, we're stepping back in time to the golden age of painting with Atelier from Alderac Entertainment Group. This Nicolas Bonjou title is part area control, part set collection, and part edutainment, a genre that I feel needs a comeback. Will this one be a masterpiece, or one that needs to be painted over? Let's open the box and find out. Before I actually open this one up, I want to take note of these little notches cut out of the bottoms of the box cover. These make opening the box a million times easier, and I was shocked at how simple a design solution this is. I might be overselling it a little, but this is all I want from game boxes from now on. Write it down. Inside the box, the first thing you'll notice are the player boards shaped like painters' palettes. These introduce you right off the top to Atelier's elevated components, which live inside the insert's main compartment here. I've separated these student meeples into their own baggies here because I'm a gamer and I have no end to small plastic bags. It's worth noting, though, that the game from the warehouse only has one large bag for the meeples and another for the paint markers. If you have the means, I highly recommend separating them out. The painting cards and patron cards each have their own space inside the box, and those are large and deep enough to house sleeved cards, if you're of that persuasion, like me. Finally, the game's player dice each have their own channel, which I personally always like. Let's set this one up, and I'll try to do what 1,000 words can't. Let's see if I can do it in exactly 1,000 words, shall we? Setup is the same no matter how many players you have at your table, but here's how it looks for 3 of us. In the center of the game's table are the painting cards, 7 of which start out face up and ready for creation. The 4 colors of paint each have their own pile, and I'll get to why that's important in a second. Once a first player has been chosen, randomly in this case, not like whoever painted a masterpiece last, deal out 2 patron cards to each player. These will provide a means to acquire bonus points at game's end and serve to focus your playstyle a little bit. From the 2 you're dealt, each person chooses 1, returns the other to the bottom of the patron deck, and then everyone's done that, it's time to start work. Beginning with the player to the right of the first player, each player in a counterclockwise fashion will place 1 student meeple at one of the 4 paint piles. You're welcome to place a student where one already exists, but this will make future paint earning a little harder, albeit for both of you. On your turn, you're going to roll all of your dice that are still active, and then spend any amount of them as you wish, as long as that number is at least 1. There are 2 ways to spend your dice. The first option you have is to use a die or dice for the value on them. A 1 or a 2 allows you to place a student from your class into one of the paint piles of your choosing. I promise I'm getting to why these are important. I'm almost there. A 3 on your dice lets you move as many students around as you'd like, as long as none of them come from your palette. They all have to be in the paint already. With a 4, you can finally collect some paint for yourself. The trick is, though, that you can only collect paint from a pile where you have the most students. In a 4-player game, it's sufficient to be tied for the most, but with less than that, you gotta have a majority. You can collect from as many piles as you're winning at, but only those. Take 1 paint pellet and put it on your palette. Paint, pellet, palette. My new vocal warm-up. A 5 on your dice lets you turn in the required paint for a painting and add it to your score area. At this point, if the painting you gained has a student requirement on it, you have to return that number of students from the piles to your classroom. You can also activate the When Painted ability on a painting you just collected. Finally, with a 6, you're allowed to take 1 paint from any pile, even one where you have no students at all. The other option is to turn in any active die and take 1 of these adorable inspiration tokens. You take the die and put it on your board, it's no longer active. Inspiration tokens can be spent to bend the rules of the game a little. Spending 1 token after rolling your dice lets you re-roll as many of them as you want. No, sorry, you're not allowed to re-roll just some of them, you must re-roll all of your active dice. Inspiration is a cruel mistress. 2 tokens allows you to paint a painting as if you had just rolled a 5, and you can do more of that than 1 on your turn. 3 tokens let you take the top card of the patron deck, and now you have a new way to earn endgame points. That's the whole game. You'll go around and around until someone's spent all their dice, and then they're done for the round. Once everyone's out of active dice, you'll reclaim all your dice and start a new round, passing the starting player token to the left. The game ends when someone paints the 3rd painting with the masterpiece star on it. That player claims the first master token, and then they get to claim they killed Buffy before it was cool. Strangely, while this does trigger the end game, it means that you get to finish the current round and then play another round after that. So, All of this means that Atelier tends to linger just a hair longer than you want it to. This game is great, and I really enjoyed the mix of area control and dice rolling. I'm not a player that hates dice as much as others, and while it certainly can be frustrating to have enough paint to claim a painting that you desperately need but never roll a 5, you can also spend 2 inspiration tokens, so it's not like you'll get frozen out completely by the game's dice. The actual problem here is the sourcing of the paint you'll need. Since it's an area control battle to get paint, there's issues with 4-value dice when you can't get students into the pile you need, and even though 6s let you take whatever you want, the rounds are pretty short and you can get an important painting yanked out from underneath you. Do I recommend Atelier? I'm really on the fence about this one. Looking back on each of the games I played, I enjoyed them all, but literally every single one of them had a moment where I thought to myself, I'm pretty close to being done with this game, but there's at least 20 minutes left. I got the hook of this game quickly, and it's very satisfying to collect and spend paint, turning some of the paintings into cool powers that let me do more, but ultimately it just outstayed its welcome a hair longer than I wanted. 1,000 words. While Atelier isn't the pinnacle of the genre, there's plenty here to like. It's simple, quick, and has just enough going on to warrant attention as a great intro game. Let's go through our checklist for a deeper look. In the box, rulebook clear and non-gender pronouns. The rulebook is perfectly designed as a fold-out museum brochure and walks the player clearly through the steps and goals of the game without confusing or muddying the water. It also does so without using gendered pronouns, so we're calling this one a win. Iconography clear. The addition of some very simple iconography for the colors goes a long way towards clarifying gameplay for colorblind players and is very welcome here, even if it's a tad difficult to distinguish. With minimal pieces, Atelier also doesn't need to rely on lots of iconography, but what does exist is well done. Packaging well done. The insert will hold the player dice well and has a nice deep channel for the game's pieces. I personally recommend that you use some smaller baggies and split up the colored paint markers and the student meeples to avoid sorting them out every game, but that just might be my neuroses at play and not yours. The insert will even house the cards if you sleeve them, which is always a nice touch. On the table, good representation. No neoclassical paintings, no cubism, no surrealism. Frankly, I'm shocked. Component quality. Above average here. There are some wonderful details in play, from the student meeples that are holding little paintbrushes, to the player boards shaped like palettes, all the way down to the tiny notches cut into the box itself. It's clear that AEG knows what they're doing, and they elevated the components a step up here. Replay value. High. With the area control component to determine who collects the resources used for the set collection, there's plenty of variance to keep you interested from game to game. Dice always make things more interesting, whether for good or for ill, and the hidden player objective cards each provide yet another layer of variation. There's enough here to keep your sessions from drying out. Fun to lose. My major complaint with this game is that because everything's dictated by the dice and there's not enough to mitigate, quote, bad rolls, it can be very frustrating to lose because you never got to do what you needed to. Chasing down paintings against your fellow painters is hard enough, but sometimes it's unreasonably hard to get the paint you need. While Atelier is fun and it's positively dripping with theme, it's ultimately frustrating on 2 different fronts. One, there's not enough strategy or things to do to hold the attention of the hardcore gamers looking for a crunchy experience. Secondly, lightweight gamers are going to get frustrated with the lack of dice manipulation if they can't get the rolls they're looking for. If you're willing to look past the variance you're going to run into, or if you're into the theme, Atelier is worth a look. I'm Nicholas, reminding you to help protect the game population. Always sleeve your cards. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed that video, please hit that sub button and check out all of our other offerings at goodluckhighfive.com. And please consider becoming a patron of the channel at patreon.com/GLHFmagic and help us keep making reviews, videos, and podcasts for as little as $5 a month. We're also always looking for new games to review, so if you make games or you know a company who does and wants to have their game reviewed on Good Luck High Five, please reach out to us at glhf@goodluckhighfive.com and we'd be happy to take a look. You can follow me, Captain N the Game Master, on Twitter and Instagram at CaptainNGM, and follow the channel at GLHF Magic. Remember, please shop at your local game store whenever possible. Until next time, I'm Nicholas, and good luck, high five.